As heavy rain becomes more common with climate change, communities are looking for new ways to alleviate flooding. Pavement accounts for an increase in high water and flood-prone places. The Urban Conservancy's Front Yard Initiative has a plan to reduce the risk of runoff in New Orleans and areas beyond. So the Front Yard Initiative is trying to help with things like climate change, flooding, all of the bad weather that we normally get here in Louisiana. Can you tell me a little bit about it and how it got started?
Yeah, we really came out of the post-Katrina awakening that our relationship with water in the city was not healthy, and it was really this question of how do we live with water in a different way? How do we redefine that relationship? So a lot of things were happening at that time all throughout the city. And we recognized that this was an opportunity around 2016 or so to help address an issue of overpaving in the city. We first approached it as like, how do we punish those people who are paving too much? And we quickly learned there were lots and lots of people who had inherited more paving than they wanted. And we quickly pivoted to how do we help these people take the first steps to getting rid of their paving so they can do something else that helps them, helps the city to manage our stormwater.
All right, so can you explain what overpaving is, just for people that don't know?
Sure. There's a legal definition in most neighborhoods that is paving in excess of 40% of your front or side yard. And you'll see that sometimes when people create, as this house create paving in the front yard to create maybe parking or to reduce maintenance. But there's also, not specifically legal terms, but just paving so much that the water, the runoff becomes an issue for either your neighbors or for your street. So even if you are complying, you don't have necessarily an overpaved yard according to the city zoning. It can still be overpaved in terms of the damage that it's doing.
So this is an example of a house that had overpaving.
Right.
And you guys are trying to combat that with planting just grass and trees.
A little bit more than that, actually. So it's not just landscaping. Green infrastructure is about excavation, creating storage for the water itself. So it's really, what you see on the surface looks like, a gravel walkway and parking strips. But in reality, it's doing a whole lot of work. And if you were to see the in progress pictures, you would see that this driveway, for example, is excavated to 3 feet. So it's creating space for the water to sit. And yes, this yard, this property had over 800 square feet of paving that was removed and replaced with spaces where the water can go. And yeah, native plants do a great job in holding water and also tolerating our drought cycles. But when you look here behind us, this is not just plants, it's plants in a rain garden that can hold additional water. It's designed to hold water,
All right, so that's the entire idea. And has that been working here? Because if you're looking at other people around this neighborhood, not everybody has such a green landscape in the front. So is this helping with the flooding on this street?
Well, if you talk to the homeowner, she will tell you that prior to doing this work, she had standing water, and she completed her yard before her neighbor did, who also went through our program. And on heavily rainy days after she completed her project, there was no standing water here, and yet her neighbor still had that. So it definitely makes a difference.
So does it matter what type of plants? I know you said native plants specifically, but is that the goal, is to make sure that there are native plants only?
Not necessarily only. There are also naturalized plants that work perfectly well, but native plants are adapted to this climate. So if you look at what they're doing under the surface, their roots are going deeper, they're aerating the soil, meaning they're breaking up the soil in ways that something like St. Augustine grass, sod, won't do. Their root system is very shallow. And so those native plants are designed to tolerate our extreme weather events. And as we all know, our climate is already warm and wet, but it's getting warmer and wetter all the time. And so having as much intervention as we can along these lines is going to help.
And one last question for you. Is this operation only in New Orleans? Is there hope that it'll spread statewide?
It is, we're pretty Orleans-centric based because of the sources of funding. We would love to see it spread. We'd love to work with other parishes, other municipalities, teach them what we know and see this seeded elsewhere. Within Orleans Parish, since the program's inception in 2016, we have financially assisted over 140 homes. We've reduced over 80,000 square feet of paving, one house at a time. We've created over 160,000 gallons of stormwater storage per rain event, which translates into over 2 million annually that is kept out of our catch basins. And we've contributed almost $1 million to the green sector economy, and these are small contractors in terms of contracts and material purchases and that sort of thing.
All right, well, thank you so much for telling us about this. It seems like some really interesting work.
Yeah, thank you.